Following her not by paparazzi or fans, but by politicians are now watching Chrissy's movements for reasons no one is willing to admit. One unidentified insider even said, "They're not just watching her, they're waiting for something." Nobody knows what that item is, save the horror on Chrissy's face when she was observed in a New Jersey gas station, hands shaking, pacing, back and forth while whispering on the phone the entire story. And here is when everything begins spinning out of control. Cameron's aunt, the same one who used to combat. In the early 2000s, Chrissy wrote a handwritten message to a gossip column about a backstage incident, blog in which she stated that Chrissy tipped off law police about Jim's covered rendezvous with his old gang, members who were under FBI monitoring. If that's true, it's more than treason. It's war. For a minute, this isn't some tabloid gossip. The letter is dated, signed, and written with rage. One passage genuinely, Chrissy always knew the streets weren't made for Jim, and now she's playing cleaning crew to preserve her own skin. The streets lit up, blobs ran wild, and Chrissy the informant became a hot topic on Black Twitter. Overnight. One person remarked, "Like if El Chapo's girlfriend snitched and sobbed on Instagram. Live after I ain't believing it." While another remarked, "She weeping too hard is an indication of guilt, not grief." What about the footage that shattered the internet? Just about the time this letter dropped, Cameron's family shared what they labeled the last straw video, which was edited like the Netflix documentary teaser opens with security video from a Manhattan rooftop bar showing Jim offering a mysterious package to a hooded guy. There is no music, just eerie silence. The camera flips to Chrissy, coming out of an Uber 5 minutes later, looked apprehensive, searching the area, then boom, brilliant lights. But here's the catch. Cameron's cousin, who posted the video, put this in the description. The entire story has been distorted. Here's what the public didn't see. She knew she led him there. Are we witnessing a set of concepts started flooding YouTube, Reddit, and even TikTok? One popular post divided it down like a movie scene. One, Chrissy wants Jim to make up with former acquaintances in scene 2. She incorrectly offers a time and place knowing the Fed's been watching scene 3. She walks up wailing about what's about to happen. And folks ate it up, including Mama Scott, who previously refusing to comment on various challenging circumstances, wrote a cryptic essay titled, "Sometimes fans are convinced that this was meant for Chrissy." Now, let's talk about the claimed financial paper trail. Several unconfirmed sources say that Chrissy opened a new offshore account 2 days before Jim's imprisonment. The deposit was cool, $250,000, and guess who wired it? A shell company controlled by one of Cameron's aunts. Nobody believes so, and one user also provided a snapshot of the alleged transfer with the description she cashed in. Her partner wants clout and payment. The narrative was churning. Some accused Chrissy of being a CIA plant, while others said she was misled by Cameron. Family into thinking Jim was about to leave her for someone younger, so she worried and struck a bargain. Reality is uglier than we've ever seen, and if you think Jim doesn't know all this, experts say he's refusing to. Take her calls in prison, him ghosting her, the same person who dragged him down through career comebacks and label conflicts and a dozen close breakups. Now he won't even take her phone calls. Ain't that chilly as the court date approaches then? Observed. Going to church twice in 1 week, wearing sunglasses at night, and walking with her head down. Close to her claim, she is not sleeping, not eating, and is continuously checking her phone as if she is waiting for more. Bombshell. And just when we thought the story was settling down, Cameron's sister jumped in. She shared a black and white image of Chrissy and Jim, captioned with nothing but a broken heart emoji, with the phrase, "You knew better." That post received more than 80,000 likes within 2 hours, and in the comments, total chaos, with many demanding Chrissy come clean, some supporting her, and others calling wanted a full-fledged reunion show. To reveal it all, Chrissy had always been famed for her hard exterior, who had endured the hurricane of love and hip-hop's mayhem, the explosive connection with Jim that looked indestructible. But behind the doors of their house, things were far from perfect. The public never saw the Fisherers. The late-night disagreements or the whispered anxieties she had stayed by Jim for years through his legal issues on his neighborhood ties and the ever-present risks hanging above him. But the moment those handcuffs, clasped as she stood outside her life came crashing down, not just because Jim was imprisoned, but also because she didn't know what facts that had been withheld from her. The very people she thought she could trust had turned on her. And now, as Cameron's family, whom Jim had known as his own, dropped a terrible piece of information that nobody was prepared for hours after Jim's detention began pouring in. Jim had a series of private conversations with some of his closest confidants, who were now in the hands of Cameron's staff. The tapes are first hazy but clearly authentic, as Jim is shown in a violent confrontation with a mysterious creature openly discussing ideas that had nothing to do with the life he had established with Chrissy. The weight of these confessions were like a tidal wave, and Chrissy was left in its wake. Drowning in confusion and anger, her phone rang ceaselessly. One message after another flowed in amazement of the same astounding news. Cameron's. The family possessed material that might expose not just Jim, but also her. It was a betrayal unlike any other. Individuals who had previously considered her family were now behind the catastrophic jump Chrissy undertook. Maintain tough, but it wasn't long before the tears started to stream, and the mask of tranquility broke away as they proceeded to flood the media. The public couldn't get enough of Twitter. Instagram and every other medium exploded with replies, sympathizing Chrissy, some accusing her of being part of Jim's frauds. The globe was hungry. Chrissy was compelled to answer a question she couldn't even begin to fathom. How much of Jim's life had she really known at this time? The media had portrayed Chrissy as a sad character, a lady whose devotion had led her down the dark and dreadful path. But the tale wasn't completed. The film's photographs and captions were simply the beginning. Back at the Yee house, Chrissy faced a new struggle: the public vest her private life. The lady who had the queen of reality TV was now the center of ruthless look. Every friend, acquaintance, and everyone who had ever been a part of their existence was suddenly Jim, a probable culprit in this expanding affair, was arrested first. Chrissy had built a life on shaky ground, but things weren't adding up if Jim was involved. Why had Cameron's family waited until now to expose M as the underlying motive for the leap? Chrissy was no longer only attempting to redeem Jim's reputation. She was now fighting to clear her own. The following day, a surprise Chrissy's visit to the lawyer's office took an unexpected turn as she walked into the sterile room. The weight of scenario weighing down on her shoulders, but what the lawyer informed her next would alter the trajectory of this whole story. "There's something you need to know," he muttered softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "For some time now, they've been constructing a case against Jim, and it seems they've been waiting for the greatest chance to strike. But what you don't know is that the evidence they've revealed was not meant for the public. Consume it as part of something far broader." Chrissy's heart raced. Her mind were racing with worry about who was pulling the strings behind it all. What was Cameron's family striving to attain, and most importantly, was Jim the person she thought he was, or was she blinded by love? As the years went, the pressure on Chrissy mounted. The murmurs became louder, and the leakage became more frequent. The struggle to keep her quiet was practically unbearable. But one thing remained constant: the notion that something was missing, and she couldn't shake the sensation. Then, late one night, she made the ultimate revelation. Chrissy glanced through. Her phone, a new message appeared. It was from an unknown number, and the message was short. "The truth with shaking fingers, Chrissy. Chrissy." Clicked the link and what she saw left her. In awe, a new video emerged, one that had never been seen before. This time it wasn't Jim on the screen. One of Jim's closest friends was caught in a conversation with none other than Cameron himself, something she had never imagined. It was apparent Jim was never intended to be the fall guy. This was a well-planned maneuver that would bring down the entire empire Jim had battled so hard to establish. Chrissy sat in the background, oblivious of the game being played. When the screen went dark in front of her, Chrissy's world fell apart, once again. She wasn't just caught up in a scandal. She was there the night Chrissy watched that last tape. Everything she believed she knew about her life, Jim and even herself, were torn into a million pieces. The truth, if you can call it that, was considerably more. Jim was not just the person she had stood by for years, but he was more sinister than she could have imagined. A broader, more hazardous game that had been expertly planned by someone she believed she could trust. In the midst of it all, Chrissy found herself caught between loyalty, deceit, and an overwhelming need for the truth. The video that had arrived out of nowhere was troubling. Cameron, who had previously termed Jim his, was observed laughing with one of Jim's closest pals. The conversation seemed casual at first, but the underlying threat was they weren't talking business as usual. They were planning a considerably greater demise than Chrissy was aware of. The tempest swirling around her, playing her part as the supportive girlfriend, and the deeper forces at work in Chrissy's heart sank as she studied the footage, her mind racing with unanswered concerns. Why hadn't she noticed signs? How long? Had Cameron's family been scheming this treachery? And what was her role in all of this? Was she simply a pawn? A means to an end in a game she didn't even know she was playing. The texts began streaming in instantly. After the video went viral, Chrissy's name was on everyone's lips, but it wasn't the support she hoped for. Chrissy couldn't look at the screen any longer since the comment sections were full with accusations, judgments, and toxic supposition. They inquired how long she had known about Jim's criminal conduct against her, and in the middle of Jim, the person she needed the most was behind bars, and his silence left her to face her war alone. Chrissy wasn't one to back down. She'd been through worse. Her whole life had been under public observation, and if one thing she understood how to do was to survive. The lady who had made a career out of reality TV dramas and had fought tooth and nail to keep her private life just that secret was abruptly thrown into the public limelight. The most spectacular manner feasible. The first step was apparent. In the dead of night, Chrissy made a decision that would, after everything, she reached out to Karen personally. It was a move that might either make or break her. Cameron wasn't just any guy. He was a figure of authority, a man with his own purpose. Christy wasn't intimidated, going to find out the truth. She needed to go directly to the source. The phone? Conversation was tense. Every word, pause. Chrissy's voice quivered at first, as if a mind was about to erupt. Then she quickly, "You've been doing," she continued. "I know you've been behind everything. The leaks, the movies, the falsehoods, and I want to. Why are you doing this to Jim?" There was a long quiet on the other end. Chrissy was afraid he was about to hang up, but then Cameron said. His voice was low and controlled. "You don't get it, Chrissy." He remarked, It's never been about Jim. You, with your loyalty, are the one. Who has been in the way all this time? You have been shielding and covering him. For him, but you didn't know everything. Did you, Chrissy, feel the drain? From her cheeks. What do you mean, Jim's? In too deep, Cameron continued. He's been making movements, tugging strings with people. You don't even realize you've been blinded. By love. And now it's too late. There's no turning back from Chrissy's hold tightly around the foam. So what do? Think you're trying to hurt him and destroy us? No, Cameron said in a frigid tone. I'm not destroying anybody. I'm simply Jim has been telling the truth. Suppressing for too long, the phone ceased. Unexpectedly, Chrissy was left standing. In the center of the room, her thoughts Cameron has recently acknowledged to everything. But there was more to this. Then he told her there was a bigger plot at play, and she wasn't, "I'm going to sit quietly as everyone surrounding her devastated her life," battled for in the days that followed. Chrissy explored more into Cameron's history, relationships, and the truth Cameron's family aims to. There are several additional significant personalities. I've been pulling threads behind scenarios with Jim. As a pawn in a larger game, it wasn't just about street beef or old grudges. It was all about money, control, and power struggle that spread across industries. But in her quest of Chrissy discovered something would alter everything, had been revealed. Incriminating film pictures, emails had been modified. They weren't simply exposing Jim, they were supposed to break Chrissy and cause her to wonder. She understood all about her battle. Chrissy's life and love are far from done. I was not going to let Cameron or anybody otherwise take everything from her without. As the action develops, it looks that things we are simply skimming the surface of. This explosive tale has finally arrived clean about her participation in Jim's arrest. Is this the most serious betrayal of trust? One thing is certain. This story is far from done, but we want to hear from you. You think that Chrissy was innocent, bystander caught in a catastrophe, or is there something more deeper at play? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to push that. If you're equally shocked, click the like button. By this turn of events, we are you. I don't want to miss what occurs next, so be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you're the first to know when the next is larger-than-life drama breaks. You know we're on top of. Everything gives you the raw, unvarnished truth. Stay tuned, for if you believe this was crazy, wait for the genuine mysteries.